Daily Detroit is brought to you by the community. Support our work at patreon.com/dailydetroit.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to your Daily Detroit. It's Wednesday, June 5th, 2024, coming to you from our studio at Techtown. We've got a couple of big things to talk about. I am Jer Stays. To my left is none other than returning guest Robin Runyon. Good to see you.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, my pleasure. And to my right, none other than the Prince of Brightmoor.
I'm back one more time, Norris Howard in the building, but sad times to talk about this first story, Jer.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about two things. There are huge developments when it comes to the Detroit Riverfront Conservancy Embezzlement Case. We're going to get into them. We're going to talk about the documents, all of this stuff. It is a wild case. And then we're going to get into all of our impressions around Michigan Central as both Robin for Urbanized Detroit and Norris had a chance to tour it. I'd love to get you guys' thoughts on what's going on. But first, tens of millions of dollars embezzled by William Smith, the former chief financial officer for the Detroit Riverfront Conservancy, and the newest, just before we were recording this, he has been officially charged with bank fraud and wire fraud in a criminal complaint unsealed in federal court. This charge arose out of what is alleged to be a years-long scheme to embezzle conservancy funds for his own use. According to documents, and this is crazy, there are two distinct ways. First, Smith is alleged to have used conservancy funds to pay for charges that he and his family accrued on an American Express account. And then second, he's alleged to have diverted conservancy funds to a company he controlled called the Joseph Group. Neither of these sets of expenditures were authorized or approved by the board or the DRFC. Holy crap, we're right around $40 million. Robin, first reaction.
Yeah, this sucks. This whole story just sucks. Like, there's nothing good. I did not come here to talk about this today, by the way.
We
nobody
had this very happy, shiny episode planned, feeling so good about Michigan Central and the concert and all these things.
Yeah.
And then this is like a dagger in the heart.
Yeah, so we just got this as we're sitting down and setting up. And I pulled up the Free Press article and just reading. Let me just read you one little paragraph here just to give you an idea of what we were dealing with. So this is from the Free Press. The complaint alleges Smith opened an American Express Business Platinum card with the Conservancy's knowledge, and that 4 cards were issued on the account, including his wife and other family members. Nearly $14.9 million in credit card payments from the Conservancy bank account were made on the American Express cards between November 2012 and March 2024, according to an accounting firm hired by the Conservancy.
How do you not catch that? And there's also like a $5 million line of credit with Citizens Bank on the Conservancy's behalf. This is bananas.
Listen, and we now see why the CEO has now stepped down. This,
as he should.
The fallout from this will continue.
He is either implicated. I'm sorry, I know that people like him, but he is either implicated or he did a terrible job.
Yeah, because first of all, the amount of money flowing into the Conservancy to even allow this to happen without it red flagging anyone is shocking. And yes, I know
that's a broken process.
Yes, I know that Smith was the CFO, but there's nobody down the line who says, wait a minute, $17,000 being charged.
And where is the board? Where is the board?
Yeah, where's the board?
Mary Sheffield, who is the president of this city council, she was asked by the Detroit News about, these things happening. Well, I haven't been to meetings, whatever. I'm not trying to throw her under the bus, but you know what? We need board members that don't just show up there for show. Because this is what happens when you do stuff just for status and don't do the work.
I mean, listen, I am not a financial expert, but I will say if I was to look at, my company's books and see almost $20,000 charged to Louis Vuitton, and we're supposed to be building up a riverfront, unless the Louis Vuitton store is right there on the river.
To be fair, you can charge actually a lot more at Louis Vuitton, $17,000.
It's tame. It's tame, comparatively. But I'm just saying, this is kind of Mickey Mouse stuff. Like we getting into like Lex Luthor amounts of money here, where $40 million just up and disappearing over the course of these years is really, really concerning for a myriad of reasons, not just because of the lack of oversight or at least incompetent oversight, but for the simple fact that this riverfront has been stood up as an example for the rest of the country.
I feel so bad for the guy who made the documentary that was so good that just aired, and all these people, and it's like this big feel-good thing. But you know what? I'm going to be honest. There's a red flag for me in that Kwame Kilpatrick was around this thing, and this is some Kwame Kilpatrick stuff. I'm almost waiting for a red navigator to show up.
Listen. It could be.
We still could have one.
It could still be one involved. We're talking about clothes.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. But we're talking about in the DOJ lawsuit. We're talking about jewelry. We're talking about cars. We're talking about airline tickets, vacations. We're talking about all the stuff that comes along with embezzling money. We're talking about shell companies and restaurants being opened in suburbs of Detroit that are now being forced to shutter.
Duo in Southfield, which is apparently he was a partner in. A few people sent me that link, which was really interesting, that he was actually even shoveling some of the money to businesses not even in Detroit.
And the thing,
on top of all of that.
And the sad part about that is that the people who worked at that restaurant who have nothing to do with this whatsoever, they're all going to lose their jobs because now this lifeline of money of
and
these
what other companies?
And these ill-gotten gains are now just going to be gone. So what happens? What happens to those businesses? This is bad all the way around, and I am concerned. I'm very concerned that I'm not sure how this nonprofit continues to exist.
Oh, I think it will because I think there's going to be a lot of rallying around it.
Yeah, the Ralph C. Wilson Foundation and the Kresge Foundation have both said that they are very much still in, and the Riverfront Park is still a go. We're moving, ahead, and that's going to be a destination when it opens next year. And there's the bear slide.
Right, the bear slide, which is amazing. I also think that some of this money will end up getting clawed back through the legal process. I imagine their auditors are going to be sued. I imagine that a number of people in this process are going to be held fiscally responsible with some attempt to claw back things, as well as whatever restitution and things like that.
I think that's what I was trying to say. Like, obviously, the Conservancy will continue to exist in terms of the projects that they already have during the pipeline. The leadership group is done. Whoever was in the leadership group, I think that either they're stepping down or should step down, or there's going to be a lot of people held responsible here.
So this gets me to a larger point, because in Detroit, we have a lot of show boards, where boards have a lot of people on them that look really good, but they don't do anything. They don't go to meetings. I didn't want to throw any specific person, but that quote was in the Detroit News.
Yeah. And
I think I wanted to highlight it because at the end of the day, when you are on a board, you actually have a responsibility to do oversight. And we need to stop having boards that are show ponies and boards with people who are actually actively doing work. Because if you don't have that, first off, the active work helps the organization. But two, there needs to be this kind of oversight because this should not have happened.
It shouldn't have. And this is a nationally recognized riverfront. There's been nothing but good things about the Conservancy and all this for the past decade. And this is just, I hate to keep saying this, this sucks. Like, it just really does.
And just anecdotally, I'm going to say, as a Christmas gift, my wife bought me one of those beautiful bricks on the riverfront because we were moving out of the city at the time. And she was just like, I want your name somewhere in the city. And I thought it was a very thoughtful and very sweet gift. And my brick is not there. And I got the receipts. And I'm going to just say this, Jer. I'm going to be real upset if I found out that somebody alligator shoes that this paid for somebody's shoes
they
as
should
opposed to my
put your
brick.
name on his shoes.
My name need to be on the shoes, okay? All right, because my brick ain't there. So I'm pissed off. And to see this happen, and I think I'm not the only one. There are a lot of people who really, I say that kind of tongue in cheek, but there are a lot of people who have put their money towards this thing, who have invested in it, nonprofits who have put their money towards it, and all sorts of other philanthropic efforts to see this amount of money disappear and go towards somebody's pocketbook is disappointing on a level that I think we have not seen in many, many years in the city of Detroit.
The thing that I worry about for the city's image is when more details come out, what do they look like? Because the more scandalous they get, the more chance that this could go like super national, right?
As long as there's no cocaine and strippers, we're okay.
It's very much a new Detroit, old Detroit story. We don't want the old Detroit.
Well, that's the thing. Like, so people talk about like their nostalgia for old Detroit. This is the part I have no nostalgia about.
No.
This old Detroit can go burn in hell.
Yeah. No.
Because I was here for that whole time, and they were stealing stuff. They were doing illegal works, and sure, I think that some of the punishments were maybe over the top. But at the end of the day, like, this isn't okay. And I don't care how much you like somebody. When you're doing wrong at this level, when you are taking this kind of money that's supposed to be for the people, for something that the people use, you are an evil person. And if found guilty, you are an evil person for doing that. You know, just
I think
straight
it
up.
can be said better than that, Jer.
Let's talk about something happier.
I'm with it.
Cool.
And of course, we will be following this Riverfront Conservancy story. If you've got tips, ideas, dailydetroit@gmail.com, or thoughts, leave a voicemail, 313-789-3211. Are you as pissed off as I am? I
Jer
want to hear
said,
about
come
it.
see me outside. He said, come see me, man. And I appreciate this
I'll
energy.
throw him in the river. I will grab him by the collar.
I think there's going to be a lot of thoughts. I think you're going to get a lot of thoughts on this.
So something that's more positive, Michigan Central, the glow up. This is a great thing for the city, going to be broadcast on Peacock. We talked a little bit about it with Fletcher Sharp, but I want to get deeper into it because both of you toured it and you both approach Detroit development from different perspectives. So I'd love to get into it. Robin Runyon, Urbanized Detroit, you really do cover all of these wonderful things. Kind of what were your thoughts with this?
What are my thoughts? I mean, I've been wanting to write the story since I started, covering architecture 8 years ago in Detroit, and it rivals any great architecture in the country and the world. Like, they went above and beyond with this one. And I've been in a lot of renovations, a lot of restorations. They really went over the top. I mean, just the time and the detail that went into this. I think I'm going to try not to get emotional, talk about it. I'm an emotional person. I never got to go in the building before, the whole thing. I think for people who have that history, who have that family history, who have been here for a long time, who remember the trains running and all of that.
I do.
I think it'll be very emotional, especially the Grand Hall. I mean, it's ridiculous how beautiful it is. It's really something. But there's also other areas in the building that I think people are really going to respect and gravitate towards. There's that, like, men's waiting room off to the side on the east side that has all this wood paneling and these ram's heads that they had to recreate. They have this restaurant space that's going to be used for the hotel that's coming soon. That'll be really cool. And they have that back part, the South Concourse, that will lead out to a park that's going to be there. Like, it'll be, there's going to be a lot of companies coming in and using the tower space, but that first floor, that ground level floor, should truly be like a public space. And I think it'll be where everybody's going to go, at least in the next year, 5 years, 10 years.
Yeah, I think for me, as somebody who was a baby when the last trains ran at Michigan Central, I never got a chance to see it either in operation. But I had been in there many times when it was abandoned, and I'm pretty sure none of my graffiti was good enough to keep, but they kept some of it. But the thing that I sort of appreciate the most is people forget. And Jared, we talk about this all the time off air. People forget how much money was in Detroit. People forget how grand it was. People forget that it used to be sort of a symbol for the Gilded Age, post-Reconstruction, or post-industrialized America. And when I look and I walk back into Michigan Central, I see them trying to recapture that. And I think that's the thing that I find the most amazing. There's a museum in Paris, the Musée d'Orsay, which is also a former train station that they converted into a museum. It's sort of Paris's second museum to the Louvre. And it reminds me a lot of that. It has some architectural similarities to it. But what I really enjoy about what they're doing at Michigan Central right now, and what I hope they're able to continue, is the understanding that it will be a constant work in progress. They didn't let press and people preview it when it was quote unquote done. They said, we're going to be working on this for years and years and years. And I think that level of transparency and that level of honesty is something that is going to be what we need more of in the city of Detroit.
The reactions from people are very clearly that it's stunning and it's very exciting. But I think a lot of people aren't sure about the programming, because I think the programming is something different than we're used to. And that also makes me think about the frame of Detroit developments being something that we're not used to. And how does that make you feel like as a longtime Detroiter?
I mean, I love it. Listen, you know,
because there's been a lot of posts on social media I have seen of people who are uncomfortable with this.
Yeah, I don't care. How many times have I said I want the new stuff? I want new.
The new old stuff?
I want the new old stuff, but I want it new. You know what I'm saying? And for me, I look at an area like Corktown and I see what people's ideas for Corktown are. We talked about the DCFC Stadium. We see Michigan Central. That is a place I want to live. I want to live in an area like that where I low key don't have to leave my neighborhood. I got my sports there. I got, you know, a multi-use public space, both indoor, outdoor. All we need is another Whole Foods over there, and we doing good. You know, restaurants, bars, all that stuff. And the thing that I love about this and why I don't feel any sort of way about it is I'm not paying for it. That's the beautiful part. I'm not spending a dime of my money on it.
I mean, there is public subsidy with this project.
There's some public subsidy, but I would rather my public subsidy go to something that I know is bringing jobs and bringing energy and bringing people who otherwise would not be in the city to the city.
Well, I've heard some people in the media talk about why are they building this office complex when nobody wants to go to work anymore. I don't think that's universal. I think we have a lot of people work from home, but when you're working on these kinds of, you know, what are called mobility projects, and I got a lot of hell for using the word mobility, but it does matter. Like, the world has changed and we have to adapt to it. The world has moved beyond just what the car is, but drone technology and, you know, delivery and all this other kind of stuff. There's so many layers to this. And the fact is, this building, Robin Runyon, is not going to be just office. Like, there's so much more to this building.
Yeah, and obviously, if my office was in Michigan Central, I'd go there.
I was just about to say that, which is like,
it's experiential office, which I don't think people realize. Like, most people go to offices that suck.
Yes. Yeah. Like, no diss. I love y'all out there. I don't want to drive to Troy for anything, right? Like, y'all lucky Somerset is out there, because I don't want to drive to Troy for anything, because I wouldn't want to go in an office park surrounded by asphalt where I can't walk anywhere to you know, Robin and all the work she does with Urbanize. Michigan Central is a different beast. We're talking about green space. We're talking about, you know, walking distance to some of the best restaurants in the city, some of the best bars in the city. Like, we could revive happy hour down there. Like, how great is that? You know what I mean? And revive some of those the third space culture that, you know, other cities still have.
And it's going to be so connected to everything. It is already, but once the park is done, it's going to connect to the Joe Louis Greenway. You have Honeybee right there. You're going to be able to get to the West Riverfront Park really easy. You can get anywhere really easy without a car. And I think a lot of people really like that.
And I think that, but I do think that that's a huge culture shift for people. Even like posting on my own personal Facebook page, like, people, this is an identity shift. I think not just for the city, but for the region, that we can do great things, but also what we did to get here is going to have to change in order for us to succeed in the future.
Allow me to retort. Maybe it ain't for you, Detroiters. Let's think about that.
Okay.
Maybe it ain't for you. Maybe it's for those who don't live here yet. That's the play, because you're right. The culture is what it is. People feel how they feel. And there's a lot of people already entrenched in our car-centric culture. But there's a lot of people elsewhere in the nation who aren't like that. And they need another reason to move here. And I'm not saying this is Michigan Central solely, but this represents to me an idea of a Detroit that is very different than the one we've had for the past 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And I think a lot of that includes people who aren't here yet.
Yeah, and if you talk to the commenters on my page, they don't want cars. They don't want to drive everywhere. And I think, you know, this is just one way to show people that you can have a house or an apartment here, and you can get everything you need in a really, 20-minute neighborhood. Corktown's really becoming that. Honestly, I don't think Corktown has changed as much as I thought it could change in the time that, you know, since they announced it. But it's getting there. It's definitely getting there. And I will say, because the building across the street from Michigan Central is still empty, and I'll leave that. But
yeah, someone needs to do something with that, right? But that's the other thing I think about too, is that although this is a lot of change, there's actually still a lot of land to build on. Like there is so much more to be done.
The story of the whole city, man.
You know, and I think about like we mentioned like this Detroit City FC stadium project, and I'm aware that wheels are turning on that one because there's a lot of money to raise. Okay, does a project like that start to think about residential?
It has to.
Does it start to think about those things?
They have.
Yeah,
I can say that. Yeah, I went to their meeting a couple of weeks ago. That is in the thought process. Yes.
Okay, I'm glad you get invites and we don't. Yeah,
they
I mean, I love
to.
them, but I'm going to give them hell about that one.
No, but they had to, and I'm glad to hear that, Robin, because there was no way that they would be able to sort of, I think, justify it without it. I mean, even when you look at stadium projects of the same, not to get too far off topic, but when you look at massive projects like that involve stadiums in Europe, residential comes along with it because they also understand that we need people to come to the games.
Well, I used to stay in North Corktown, and the amount of change that's happened there in the last 5 or 6 years has been huge if you go through those different neighborhoods, but there's still a lot of room to go. There is that affordable housing pilot that the Gilbert Foundation is going to be working on over in North Corktown. We had Darnell from the Gilbert Foundation on to talk about it. I actually saw him up at Mackinac. It was good to see him. There is so much energy, but I want to say that there's actually still a lot of opportunity there for folks.
There really is. There's been a ton of townhouses and single-family homes built there over the past 6 to 8 years. But really, there's a lot of land over there. I'm kind of surprised that there's still a lot of land over there because it's so centrally located.
There is this lady on Instagram. I think she's like Lady Contractor or something. I love how straight up she's like, get you a house.
Oh, I know who you're talking about too.
I gotta have her on. She's
we gotta bring her on because she's fantastic. She has some great ideas about my neighborhood, Brightmo, as well, my old neighborhood. But I agree, and I'm with you, Robin, because there's a vacant lot right across the street, right across Michigan Avenue from Michigan Central Station, across from Roosevelt Park, that all it needs is just something. That's
been shopped for development proposals. It's crazy that the CPA building,
yeah.
Like the city needs to start leveraging ways to get these properties. And it's one of the reasons why I think there's ideas about like the land value tax and other things. There are some key cornerstone properties that the city just needs to leverage, and something needs to happen to them.
Even to just put a CVS right there. Like,
what about the Trader Joe's? They put the sign there that one time. Right
that
there.
was hilarious.
Just put the Trader Joe's or CVS or something right.
But like, there's a
something.
spot. There's a spot across from the Mike Illich School of Business that like one parcel is owned by the land bank, and then like 2 are owned by like some suburban developer somewhere
dude
that is not ever doing anything with it. He should pay out the tail to force him to do something with that land.
If you were just sitting on vacant land, dudes out there,
and it's dudes. It's almost all dudes.
Absolutely,
and they almost all look like me.
Yeah, and I'm saying this, and I'm challenging you. I'm putting this at an open challenge because I know some of you listen to this show. I'm putting it at an open challenge.
Yeah, they do, actually.
I dare you. Build something there. I dare you. Because if not, I'm going to make sure everybody in the city votes that you have to pay so much money that it will be untenable for you to remain holding on to that land, okay? So build something. I dare you.
This concert, star-studded affair, to say the least.
It is. I'm so curious to see how this all works out.
It's going to be cool. You got everyone from like Eminem to like Barry Sanders.
But he's not performing.
I skipped. Well, come on.
He's not.
Is he? What? He has to. And then, okay, so in the preview episode, I got a lot of hell. I didn't mention Diana Ross. People got mad at me for it.
Well, that's because Diana Ross ain't been back since 1988. So, I mean, like, you know, it's exciting. It's exciting. People, the old heads are excited, man, for Diana Ross. My mom's excited.
Coming back.
She's excited to see Diana Ross back in town.
I can't play the music or else I
feel you. But I'm just saying, she ain't been back in town since they knocked the Brewsters down, man. So I'm just being for real. It's exciting. I like that it's an eclectic lineup of many different genres because, I mean, they could have just rolled out like Big Sean and like Babytron, but then only like me and my cousins would have showed up and it wouldn't have been great.
Isn't Big Sean part of like the Detroit Events starter pack?
Yes.
Like you got Big Sean, you've got interstitials that are by Stevie Wonders, like Living for the City or something.
Yep.
You've got the youth choir.
Yep.
That does something. Usually it's the version of Jay-Z song for New York, but it's like Detroit.
Yeah.
Like there's a starter pack for Detroit Events.
There's no techno.
But Theo Parrish was on there.
Was he?
Yeah.
Okay, then I stand corrected. Because I was looking, I was just like, excuse me. If nobody calls.
But listen, Eminem said nobody listens to techno.
I don't care what he says. He's wrong.
He is wrong.
He's wrong.
I'm also just really interested to see logistically how this is all going to work, because I drove past it yesterday. Everything's fenced off. It's a huge setup. A lot of streets are going to be closed for it, and just getting the people who have tickets into it and the people who don't have tickets. It's just going to be very interesting to see.
I was thinking about driving down, and then I'm like, do I Uber down just to make it easier on myself?
You need to Uber.
Yeah.
You Uber. The rest of us, troglodytes from Metro Detroit, we need to drive in. You should Uber. Don't take a parking spot from me.
Well, it was the best of times and a little bit of the worst of times on this Daily Detroit. Thank you so much for listening. Robin Runyon, thank you so much. Make sure you stop by Urbanize Detroit.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Norris Howard, the Prince of Artmore.
Yes, as always, man. I'm very happy to be here and can't wait to come back.
All right. Well, do not forget to leave 5 stars on your favorite podcast app and tell a friend about Daily Detroit. We're working to save local communication and local news here. So be part of the movement. DailyDetroit.com, Patreon.com/DailyDetroit. With that, I am Jer Stays. Remember that you are somebody, and we'll see you around town. Talk tomorrow.